Religious Legislative Coalition gives out annually. One is to a congregation and one is to an individual. And we focus this around the mission of JRLC, which is to initiate and effect legislation which can further the causes of social justice. Our method for accomplishing this goal is to research the justice problems of our society and propose and promote legislative remedies. And so that's what both this congregation and this individual has done. The Lawrence D. Gibson Award, and Lawrence D. Gibson was a wonderful former board member, served faithfully for 30 years, including 2 terms as the board chair and 15 years as the treasurer, was an animated ambassador for JRLC. Larry thrived in the teaching and learning of religious principles and tireless social action. He actively engaged in social justice policy research and discussions with colleagues, elected officials, and everyone who cared about Minnesota. Larry's testimony at the legislature and subsequent advocacy by JRLC resulted in Minnesota's Working Family Credit and the creation of the biennial tax incident report. Devoted to his Jewish faith, Larry fought tirelessly for human rights, religious tolerance, and social justice. And so our highest award bears his name. And so we just really want to thank both our congregation and individual who have tirelessly worked for this justice. So in a moment, I would like to welcome Megan Olson Bighauser, the parish organizer for Holy Trinity Church in Minneapolis. Holy Trinity Lutheran has a long and varied commitment to social justice, addressing the many needs of their neighbors and working for change at the local, state, and national level. In many of their efforts, they work with congregations and people of other faiths. Almost 10 years ago, Holy Trinity identified predatory lending as an issue in their neighborhood. They founded an alternative to payday lending called Exodus Lending that has now become its own nonprofit. Exodus Lending has refinanced almost $200,000 in loans, saving participants more than $500,000. That's one congregation, people. Holy Trinity has worked alongside the JRLC and other faith leaders to organize efforts to stop predatory lending practices in Minnesota. An interfaith coalition worked to educate legislatures and the public and advocate for legislative action. Holy Trinity and Exodus Lending are again primary advocates addressing payday lending, working with legislators, parishes of various denominations, and JRLC. Holy Trinity consistently includes those people affected by the problem in looking for a solution and advocating for policy change. They are well known for working on issues that directly affect their neighborhood and for finding the common ground among varying faiths, whether through their advocacy or their Johnson Symposium that features leaders in the Islamic and Jewish community. True interfaith work. In recognition of the extensive work and financial contributions made by Holy Trinity to influence public policy for the common good and their long-standing commitment to interfaith work, I am pleased to present the 2019 JRLC Interfaith Community Social Justice Award to Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. The power of what one congregation can do. Spencer Whitman has shown her entire life being about social justice and encouraging others to see, judge, and act with justice. For 23 years, she served on the Justice Commission of the Sisters of St. Joseph and Consociates, helping to bring to life the mission of promoting and taking action that lead to systemic change in accordance with the gospel values and the social teachings of the church, a life well led. Joan recognizes the importance of all members of our community being involved in the civic process by being informed voters and engaged citizens. She has become a community go-to person on legislative advocacy and voter registration questions. She has organized numerous candidate forums for people of faith, assuring that candidates are aware of the concerns of the faith community. Joan was an active observer of the Legislative Commission to End Poverty in Minnesota by 2020, the basis for the JRLC's recent Poverty Progress Report. In her work, she engaged people of many faiths to attend numerous Minnesota Legislative Committee hearings around poverty. She has been actively involved in numerous interfaith community engagement events, including her local Senate District Advocacy Fair and social justice programs and town hall meetings at local churches and synagogues. Most recently, Joan has been active in nonpartisan civic engagement and voter outreach with the Minnesota State Secretary's Office. She has attended every JRLC Day on the Hill for the past 25 years until these votes are. After September 11, 2001, Joan helped organize a monthly interfaith service, which has continued on the 11th of each month for the past 18 years. Her nomination form quoted Joan as saying, quote, "Justice for everyone. If there is an issue and if there is an interfaith response, I am there. If there is injustice and need, I will do what I can." It is my great pleasure to present Joan with the Lawrence D. Gibson Interfaith Social Justice Award, the JRLC's highest honor.
Thank you, Rachel and JRLC. I am so honored and humbled to receive this award. So many of you out there could be standing up here. None of us would be here today if we weren't passionate about interfaith social justice through legislative advocacy. My activism came alive 25 or 30 years ago through Michael Colleton and Kathy Hine at St. Stephen's Parish in Minneapolis, with Joanne Tramasek-Nye, the Justice Coordinator for the Sisters of St. Joseph, and Marty Roars, the current co-director of the CSJ Justice Office. Where are you, Marty? He's here somewhere. Through opportunities and experiences with these leaders, I've learned and continue to learn how to be an effective legislative advocate. Our Legislative Advocacy Working Group, LAP, of the Justice Commission and the Spirit of St. Stephen's was adopted from St. Stephen's 18 years ago and now has around 270 members. Through lab trainings and email alerts, our members advocate with our legislators on justice issues with and for all God's people. The JRLC issues around children and families are dear to my heart, and I am so lucky to be represented by legislators who care about these issues. My representative, Dave Pinto, heads a new committee, Early Childhood Finance and Policy Division. I'm thinking many of JRLC's priorities for this session may come through his committee. Senator Dick Cohen is one of the chief Senate authors on the Equal Rights Amendment, ERA, that Minnesota has still not passed. We're hoping this year. Although the ERA is not a 2019 JRLC priority issue, it is a huge equity issue that affects families. Thanks, Senator Cohen, I'm with you. On this day that is so special to me, I want to include Wayne, my husband, a loyal supporter of JRLC, who had such a huge influence on my justice work. He enthusiastically offered me support while having a lifelong commitment to peace and justice on his own. He would be here today, but he left this earth 3 years ago this month. I want to acknowledge my family who are here to celebrate this honor with me. Bob, Jeannie is not able to be here. She lives in Menominee, could not handle the snow. Mary Jo, David, and Susan. Also here is my CSJ community, of which I'm a consociate, and my friends from Spirit of St. Stephen's. Thank you all. I want to especially thank Rita Quigley, Marty Roars, and the CSJ Justice Commission who nominated me for this award. In closing, I share with you a prayer that's my daily mantra. Jesus, help me to remember that nothing is going to happen today that you and I can't handle together. So, my friends, my passion for justice is supported by my faith, neither of which have diminished with age. I will be 88 at the end of this month, and I am not done yet. Will you join me in continuing to advocate for justice for all our Minnesota children and families, the JRLC way? Let's hear it. Thank you.
Well, oftentimes when we talk politics and issues these days, it feels dark and overwhelming. And this day has proven just the opposite, that we have so much to be hopeful for, inspiration, dedication, and the influence of a single congregation. There is so much that each one of us can do today and every day. So thank you for being here. I now invite up Reverend Tyler for our closing prayer.
Please pray with me. God, thank you for all who are gathered in this rotunda and throughout this building, and for the ones who are not here but are also called to this work of legislating, advocating, and building loving, sustainable, and justice-filled communities. For the minds, hearts, and commitments to justice of all who have gathered today in response to the JRLC's invitation, we thank you. We all come as people of faith who understand that one of the names for God is justice. And because we are made in God's image, we must do justice. As we return to our communities, do not let us lose sight of justice. Do not let us forget we must learn together, sing together, study together, march together, stand together, and pray together. Remind us that we are the ones. Remind us that now is the time for us to work together for the realization of radical love. Be present with our legislators. Make clear to them what they must risk now. In these halls, help that there would be good listening. Stir in all who serve a curiosity to know the needs and goodness of others, such that they are eager to cross boundaries that they have been reluctant to cross in the past. Open the eyes of our legislators to see connections, pause acrimony, show our policymakers how to disagree in the right way. May the ones who are called to govern be involved in repairing the fraying garments that tie us together. Do not let them lose sight of our interrelatedness. And with each of their words, better yet with each of their letters, written and spoken, set that the intent behind them is to do justice and to honor the dignity and wellness of every Minnesotan. Do not allow words that intend to harm to prosper. Make it difficult for those who govern to ignore the paradox of poverty. Make it easy for them to be generous, especially to the ones who are most in need. These things we ask in all your good names. Amen.
This concludes our Rotunda activity. The buses will be picking up where they dropped you off, and they will be running until 3 o'clock. Some of us JRLC folks will still be here if you have any questions, and don't forget to put your evaluations in the box behind me. Thank you so much for being here.